My sister, the queen, the mage, and the alchemist, Lisa Lister, best-selling author of many books now, but the last best-selling book that she wrote was called Witch. The one before that was called Love Your Lady Parts. And then she also has an amazing first book of the trilogy called Code Red. And I met her through the realm of loving each other's work, and we've become deep friends and colleagues. And she calls me her stage mom because I like to push her to do things. So I pushed her to come on to Reality Riffing because she's in many ways a real deep and true artist, and she shies away from the public life. But she's you'll hear her talk about her newfound 2020 steeds of public life, her LA her LA ways that she's developing here, and she is an incredible artist and an incredible writer, but also an incredible priestess and wisdom holder. And she talks a lot about the cycles that women go through, the cycles of nature, and using her lineage as a third generation Romanian gypsy. And she actually says on the episode that her mother was a sky reader, whatever, I've never heard that term before, but she comes from a deep lineage of these kind of wisdom ways. And so she talks a lot about how she's kept herself from commercializing the work in a way that disallows for the sacredness, and at the same time still being in the technological age and being a best-selling author and doing all the things that she does. And it's been a real journey for her. So it's a beautiful episode to hear some of her personal journey around the past couple of years, the new book that she's writing, and the new oracle deck that she did all of the basically channeled art for, that's coming out in February. So I hope you enjoy my deep and incredible conversation with Lisa Lister.
Speak to God in public, I speak to God in public. He keep my rhymes in couplets. He think the new shit jam. I think we mutual fans. I used to dance to Michael. I used to dance in high school. I used to pass out music. I still pass out music. The people's chant must be everything the people can't be. I'm getting artsy-fartsy, house full of some Hebrew Bramleys. You must have missed the come up. I must be all I can be. Call me Mr. Mufasa. I had to master stampedes. I made it through, made it through, made it through. And everything I gave to you, I gave to you, I gave to you. You got it, you got it, you got it. It's coming, 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 coming. So are you ready? Are you ready for your blessing?
Are you ready for the blessing of Lisa Lister on Reality Riffing? I even was able to kind of dance and not hurt myself. I can stand on 2 feet and I'm getting up to dancing. I was just telling Lisa that I am still asking Tegnom to do things for me like I still have a broken foot.
I like it.
And I just realized last night, I was like, wait a second, I actually can stand up and go get that myself, but I'm still playing that card pretty hard. Lisa Lister, I am so happy after all of these years I got you on Reality Riffing. Lisa just told me we might get her in LA. Somebody's just fallen in love with Los Angeles. I know. Are you ready for the blessing?
I'm so ready. I'm so ready. This place has been amazing. I've been here for like 2.5 weeks. I don't think I need to go home.
It's pretty nice. People like it here.
I like it.
It grows on you.
It does.
It grows on you.
So good.
You guys are in Glastonbury right now.
Yeah,
which
in
is
the UK.
I mean, this is a very odd little town, this Glastonbury. Tell people who have not been. I mean, this is it's like going kind of to like a Renaissance fair,
like medieval times.
but it's real. People are not
real.
in costume.
it's real. I mean, they are in costume, but like they think that's real. No, it's the most beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
It's a beautiful place. It's like a Harry Potter Disneyland situation, but yeah, it's the nature. Like, so there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of witchy shops. There's a lot of all the good stuff that you can buy, all the tat, and then there's nature.
There's a whole nother dimension there if you know how to experience it.
And there's some secret little places where you can just tap into some fierce power points. So which is why we got called there. So
I mean, so many people can't live there. So it says a lot about you guys to actually be able to live there, because it's one of these places. If you can't, you're not part of that frequency. People get ejected from that quite often.
And it's been a real healing for us. It's been 18 months we've been there. We were in Malta, and then moved to Glastonbury. And for that reason, it was like, okay, where do we need to be? And we needed some healing as a couple, my husband and I. And it's cool. Now we're ready for LA.
I know. That's Lisa's wearing, what kind of shoes did you say?
I bought some DC sneakers.
Oh, she has some DC sneakers. She's listening to Chance the Rapper.
Basically.
Like, watch out, Los Angeles.
This is like my 18-year-old self. Like I used to ride a skateboard. I used to wear all the skate gear. Now I'm living the dream.
Oh, this is so
bringing
cute.
it back in my 40th year.
I'm so happy about this. So in Glastonbury, a lot of people haven't been here. I mean, you can actually stay in the hotel room that what was it, Henry VIII was in when he watched the Glastonbury Abbey burn. I mean, am I telling the right story?
Yeah, you're telling the right story. And you can go where Dion Fortune, one of the most incredible women.
Incredible.
The space where she did all of her magic is just like a hotel now on the tour. It's like you can go and be in the energy. I mean,
which place is that?
It's right at the bottom of the tour, just as you go up. There's a B&B just to the left. And just above the
White Spring.
The White Spring.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a good one. And that one, sometimes I just take myself there for a night, just enough to kind of tap into that energy. She did some fierce magic there. They said there was some World War II kind of magic that happened on that land, in that space. So, I mean, whether it did or it didn't, it feels really good to be there.
Yeah. What do you mean World War II? Like they stopped it, or they? Yeah.
Well, they said that during World War II, you know how it is with so many of the wars. These people in power have got access to the astrologers, to the magic makers.
Yep.
And so it was said that in that space just under the tour that they did some fierce magic to help change the pathways of how the war was going to play out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I mean, since the beginning of time, the truth sayers and the seers and the light, those light workers. I don't use that word very often, but I've used it twice this afternoon. Second time, I'm at my quota for 2019. They say that Yogi Bhajan would talk about this, that a group of those types of people are holding a vibration to keep either end wars, or he said in the 80s that all the meditators around the world were keeping the world out of World War III, and that kind of thing. So that's,
it makes so much sense, doesn't it? It makes so much sense. Well, to us. Yeah. To us.
Yeah. Have you ever thread the tour?
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of the labyrinth.
Yes.
Yeah. So, there's a cheat way up the back, which
way most people come.
I mean, and I have done that a few times. Yeah. And then there's the long way up the front, and then there's this beautiful labyrinth that can be walked that's said to unlock magic powers.
Yeah, activate the whole.
Yeah, activate the space. But then, as when we were in Mallorca, talking about how when we activate ourselves by taking ourselves on these journeys and these walks, and we understand the sacred ground beneath us, that ground gets activated too. So every time someone really does walk a labyrinth, specifically a labyrinth being like one of those really incredible ways to reach an answer, to reach our truth. is to walk that path as a pilgrimage with the question, whatever that question may be, until you reach that center point. And you activate yourself, but you also activate the land beneath you. So it's a truly magical place. I'm blessed to be there, but I'm also aware.
It's amazing. But you're ready to come to LA.
Yeah, I'm also aware there's other places in the world.
Who needs an Earth? There's actually an Earth zodiac around that's all around the Taur being the middle of the zodiac. Who needs that when you have the junkies on Venice Beach? I mean,
And Air One.
And Air One. Who needs that when you have
Activated coffee.
activated coffee and buffalo cauliflower?
And that Glastonbury astrology though, that's magic.
It's magic.
And it's mapped out, it's above, so below in every kind of magic tradition. But understanding that there really is. And Rich and I spent a lot of this 18 months actually moving from just visiting. So when we're in Virgo, we go to this little town where Virgo is said to be held, and you channel the energy there, you feel into it. You felt like little quest makers.
Amazing.
I know, it's fun.
Amazing. And have you noticed anything with your writing or with your work that's been activated from being there?
Yeah, I think I've given myself space there. I think everywhere else feels very fast, you have to get stuff done, and actually it runs on its own time.
Yes, it does.
From experience. It really runs on Glastonbury own time, which is great, but you get lost in a vortex.
Yeah, totally. It's hilarious.
So it's been healing, and I've rediscovered my art, being able to draw and not do the thing that I thought was the thing for a bit, to see how that felt. So that's been fun. So going to each of those places really just taught me that we've got these cycles in the sky, we've got these cycles in our body, we've got these cycles in seasons, and it's actually really living somewhere where you haven't got Uber Eats, where you haven't got the access to all of the amenities of life.
There's that Italian place on the bottom of town. I know.
I've been there. Shuts at 7.
Shuts at 7 o'clock. They're very nice. They're very lovely.
Great pizza. Yeah. But that's your lot. That's absolutely all there is. But when that is stripped away, you really do get to show up to these spaces and recognizing, I can work with these cycles. And that's been massive. It's my work, but also recognizing, I can use this with my creativity. I can use this with absolutely everything, running a business, and recognizing that it doesn't have to all be so fast-paced. It doesn't have to all be go, so linear. Actually, it's very much taught me to receive and be slower. So that I can recognize when I also need to go back out in the world now. Yeah. It's
inhale, exhale, because you were Londonite pretty hardcore for a while there. I mean, Lisa's, you had a real high-powered kind of press, PR, writing, and that.
I used to work for a Saturday morning TV show in the UK. Then I worked in teen magazines. I was an agony aunt for a little while. And then moved into editing, working for lots of different magazines and publishers. Did a little bit of PR. So I know that world, and it was hardcore. And I loved it. But it also meant I very much disconnected from this body, definitely, in the process to get shit done.
Yeah, which is part of, I really feel, and we talked about this in Mallorca, and it feels like there's layers coming off. I mean, in my own process, I think, I don't want to assume, but I feel in yours, and all the kind of women who are leading, and men who are leading this new time. But it really is, there's a deconstruction of these, for lack of a better term, inner patriarchal structures. That, I mean, this stuff is deep, and we were just talking before before we turned on the cameras about, just the kind of toxic stuff that comes up in women's community, and and that is just such a recapitulation of these kind of patriarchal power.
And that's what's going to happen when we step up create these spaces. You have immense grace. You have all these incredible online and in-person teachings. I have a space called She Power Collective. It's like when we work like that, we're holding space for that to unfold.
Yeah.
And that shit's messy. Right? So we can know what we're supposed to do. We can see all of the kind of kumbaya moments and all of the lovely pictures of women holding hand in sisterhood
and goddess, gowns and stuff.
Yeah, nice like tie-dye ensembles and things.
A lot of silk, a lot of...
We can see all of that. We can love on it. We can want it so bad. Yeah. But the truth is, this shit's messy. Like, the unfolding is messy, which is why we need those spaces more than anything. Yeah. But thinking that we've got it figured out because we've read a book or we've done a thing is not it, because it will keep unfolding. We'll think we've got it. We think we've understood. We'll sit in front of you and in a class and we'll be like, totally get what she says. Walk outside, come face to face with a situation whereby you have to recognize, oh wait, yeah, that's me and my inner patriarchy rubbing up against something.
Yeah, or you inhale a chemtrail and then you think, I can't remember what Guru Jagat said this morning. I guess I'll have to go back tomorrow. And then we say, when you come to Rama, you too could buy an annual class pass. So, keeps us in business. Business.
Clearly how it's meant to be.
So what the She Power Collective, what happens? What do you guys do?
We do...
You'll have to kill us if you tell us.
It is like a Fight Club.
It's a little Fight Club vibes. That's what I was getting. I'm like, I want to know.
No, but you always say that. You always say that about me, though. Like, I'm like part of this mischief because I won't do all the things that like my stage mum wants me to do.
Exactly. I gave her like 7 Xanax to get her up here this
No, but it's true. So it's a really beautiful. It's on Patreon because I really wanted to explore like a creative model that didn't feel structured. I love it. It's nice and easy. People can come and go. Again, I don't want people to feel like they're in a space that they have to subscribe to. Yeah. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. And that was the whole point. It was an experiment. I was I said I moved to Glastonbury in that time, and it was like I was over everything. I was one of those people like, I'm not going to be on social media for a year. I'm going to take the time. I mean, of course, that don't happen. That's a ridiculous concept.
It's like about 5 seconds later.
I've got things to see. The concept was great.
Yeah. 5 seconds off of social media in 2019.
That was me. Yeah. That was me. So I had the great concept, but in doing so, was really interested in how do I still create community? A big part of what I'm here to do, I believe, is to hold space for that unfolding that we've both been talking about. Yeah. How do I do that when I feel like I need healing, that I don't want to be out there in the world doing all the stuff, being seen all the time, in that moment in time? And yeah, it was a great experiment. And now, it's fun. It's super fun. It's very interactive, and I share rituals, very embodied rituals. Like, it's not the kind of, reach the sky, touch the floor, shake your boobies, and run a stage stick over kind of ritual. It's it's really about how working with the astrology of that moon, working with that period of time and understanding. I think you were talking in class this morning about cycles within cycles and understanding about being within the cycle that you're within. So knowing where you're at in your own bodily cycles, where you're in the moon cycle, where you're in the astro cycle, so that you know your place. So many of us feel so kind of disembodied and numbed and off center, don't know our center. And so it was just about finding ways in which to do that. So I share rituals. I've been creating, as I mentioned before, colouring in. That's what I've been doing. And I share a lot of my art process in there.
The art is amazing.
Thank you,
Lisa.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's so special. I've never seen any art like this before.
I don't want to be one of those people that it's just channeled, but it is.
It is.
It is for the most part.
It is. It's so special.
But with colouring pens, right? So, and what's been interesting for me is that I've worked with publishers in, as an editor and on the other side as an author, and I created oracle cards. I've been creating these prints. I'm creating these things that I share online, and then recognizing when you take that work, because people can't place it, it doesn't. They're like, what is it though? Mm-hmm. Can't place it, so therefore it's like, oh no, like everyone's so risk adverse right now. So it's an exciting time to be a creative, because the patriarchal structures of publishing, of the licensing world, and all of those things are shifting, and so they don't know what to do, and so we've got the control, really.
Yes.
Which is exciting times as a creative, I think.
It is. You bring up a very good point. I think I just got the hit. You need to talk to my friend Kim Kranz, who does The Wild Unknown.
Yeah.
She is coming out with a book in 2020, which was all like channeled art and then kind of the words around it, and it is so profound.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I just got the hit that you need to talk to Kim.
Thanks.
Because I do feel like this is a new kind of. I mean, of course, there's like the what are those novels called? The drawn novels.
Oh, like graphic novels.
Graphic novels.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like that's happening in kind of the comic book world and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I do feel like where is the place for channeled art? And I mean, all art really is channeled, but like I think something happened with that. That artist who was, after all these years, 100 years or whatever, shown at the Guggenheim, that woman who, the Klimt, I can't remember what was her name? Something von Klimt. Yeah, she said, in the 1919 or some pre-World War I, I think she was saying that all of that art was coming from like the meditative space, and they didn't even know, like not even the surrealists knew what to do with her. It was kind of like, but I feel like something's really opening about the kind of that revelatory, not cross-disciplinary, channel, Claire, what are the psychics that write when they do their readings? They're like, they channel by writing.
Right, yeah.
There's a word for them, but some version of that, because they really just feel that way from your art. It's a very deep transmission.
Thank you. And I think that's it for all of us, however that looks, whether it is the art, whether it's, the spoken form, like the sound frequency, music, like so many of the incredible mantras that are being, the Kundalini mantras that are being like really...
Yeah.
Noha in Mallorca. Have you heard her ones?
She did a bunch for Future of Fitness.
Oh, cool! I haven't watched it. It's amazing.
Just watch it. You don't have to do it. It's fun to watch.
I didn't plan on doing it.
We literally sat and watched it like twice over, like during Thanksgiving. We're like, this is like...
Yeah, this is good. Good work. Yeah, that's really how good.
But I did it this morning.
That's how I do your classes. You know it.
I know you do. I have my little camera, my Lisa cam.
I do look around and I'm like, I think she's seen me.
Forget Big Brother, it's Big Sister.
Do you think that?
But Noha, amazing artist.
Well, thank you. But I do think that that's what's happening, is that work is moving through, and we have to find new ways of sharing it with the world. And it may be through traditional forms, which is exciting. It's still valid, still good, and still holds authority and power and the good stuff. And there's so many ways in which we can just share with the world. And so for me, it was through Patreon. Now it's looking at ways in which to share that in terms of the cards, making them into a new Oracle deck coming out in February.
Yay!
And, super fun,
What's it called?
And making it fun. She Sirens Wisdom deck.
Amazing.
Thanks.
Amazing.
I've only just named it this morning, so that's good.
Wow. Yeah. Hot off the press. She Sirens. Amazing name. And what's, I know that we weren't sure because we've had some good WhatsApp bitching sessions about publishing books and all this kind of stuff.
We really have.
You're also there's a new book coming. I don't want to speak out of turn here.
There is.
We're all very excited.
It's been like 3 years since the last book.
Yeah.
And the creative process, it's been a process.
Yeah. And
you're in it.
I'm in it.
But
I took a hot poker to my face.
That's how much I'm in it.
Just to prove. That's a joke, everyone. I don't want to work me an email.
Like brand myself before someone brands you.
I just thought, I needed the creative process to just be more dramatic.
It needs to be. Need to feel the pain.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a process.
Yeah,
it's a
and
process.
it is. And so it's been 3 years, and I'm excited to write again. Actually, it's been nice because I think, again, because of the way the industry is set up, if you're a success, people want more. Mm-hmm. But if the well is empty, and it wasn't empty, but if I had tried to create from a place of, okay, so can you do like a witch journal? Can you do a witch this? Can you do a witch that? Can you do a witch this? Or can we call this thing witch blah blahs? Can we do anything as long as it's got witch in the title? Which, is funny now, but at the time I was like, you want to mess with her? Like, you really want to mess with that concept? Like, writing the book was a thing. Like, and
that was
everything,
enough.
Yeah, everything I've got is, in terms of that, is in that book. It's a permission slip. Like, if you love it, hope it inspires you to write your own. Like, if you hate it, I hope it inspires you to write the book you wanted to read, right? Like, that's where I wanted to be with that. To then go on to kind of, I don't know, and I don't want to be one of those people, but like, to commodify the witch would just be completely against the point of the work that I do. Yeah,
and that's what I love about you too. I mean, there's a lot of integrity there, and also an understanding of the energy you're working with, which most of these people, there's just a complete idiocy around what is the energy that's actually on the table.
Right.
And that's one of the big dark sides of the age of Aquarius. Just the charlatanism is rampant. So I just love you for not going there and really staying true to.
Well, and thanks for supporting me in that as well, because you need people to be on your team when you're making those sort of decisions.
They're hard decisions. It's seductive, It's like, okay, it's seductive. Very seductive, and you want to, you deserve to be prosperous and to have to be able to have time to refill and be paid what you deserve. I mean, so it's very, it's seductive.
It is. But the good news is I feel, come to LA. No, it was before then.
Lisa and Rich living in LA now, writing her book. Fast forward. Can we hear about what the book is about? Or no. Okay. No. We can't. Tune into our next episode.
No, I mean, I'm literally, and so the beautiful contradiction that is ultimately me always is that you can obviously find different ways. I'm like, in terms of my oracle cards, I'm self-publishing, and this will be with a publisher because we have to find all of the ways.
Yes.
Like, we have to use everything that's available to us, but be aware of what we're using. I think that's...
And don't be used by it.
And don't be used by it, exactly. Yep. And I think that's the thing, like, so many people are seduced by these industries, and it's exciting, and I'll do a thing, and then it's like, well, are you going to get paid for that? Are you going and like, know your worth in that. Mm-hmm. That's been a big learning point. So I'll be self-publishing the cards, and then I'm publishing a book with a publisher. So it's
beautiful.
Exciting.
Well, I think it's Hadi even said to me a couple of years ago, he said, basically you have to be strong enough to use the culture and the pop culture and not let it use you.
Smart.
And it really makes the difference between 15 minutes of fame and a true leader and a true teacher and someone who really has a lifelong legacy.
Right.
Is you're not used by the pop culture, but you can use it.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem where you see people on social media that it's like black or white. It's like it's either you're this or you're cancelled. It's like it's like all of this culture where
you're fired.
But it feels a bit like that. Yeah. Whereas actually there's this beautiful space, or you can't be spiritual and you can't wear sneakers, or you can't, or love labels, or and you're doing such a great job with that in terms of the fashion, like this slow fashion, but having beautiful things because we want to be beautiful.
Yeah.
Why would we? We haven't got to just all smell of patchouli. There's nothing wrong with patchouli, but we haven't got to go down that route. If we don't want to, we still get to
adorn ourselves. I mean,
adorn ourselves with beauty.
Yeah. And in all the different ways. I mean, people were going after me on social media about, the fashion being elite, even though, yeah, I mean, but you can look at everything a million different ways. And my point was, you have to look at how much have you spent on crap that you don't need in the past 6 months, and then you get something, you save up for something, or you value. My experience is the things that I have had to like stretch or save up for, or like get something beyond, maybe it's a little like the more expensive sunglasses or whatever. There's a value frequency that happens there that is interesting, and so, this is part of the thing we've always talked about, is we're symbolizing what is not to. I was just in a church in Orkney Island where they did all of the witch trials in that whole area. Many women died in that church. It was so creepy but powerful.
Yeah, beautiful, powerful, creepy.
And that's where, if you saw some of those pictures on Halloween, the graveyard we were in, that's St. Magnus's chapel. All of the witch trials were done in that part of Scotland, in that chapel, and it was super intense. But I mean, that's now our the technological witch trial, the tech age witch trial is what happens on social media. I mean, we don't die, we're not burned at the stake, but a lot of people lose their careers or lose their over, the sway of outrage.
Absolutely, and it's outrage. It's technological outrage.
Yeah.
And there's definitely, and I witnessed it, and I receive it, and it's, and I feel that, as if you're going to step into a role of, and I wouldn't have done until I've kind of worked with you, but like if you're going to step into the role as leader,
my tranquilizer gun.
She's got that Jedi mind trick on me. But if we are going to take any kind of roles of leadership, and recognizing that leadership doesn't mean like you're like the expert, or but you're experiencing the thing, you're navigating the thing, and you're providing some guidance to support other people who are doing so, then you're going to come up against it.
Yeah.
And because of this unfolding, because of this new territory that people are having to make themselves. And yet people still want to, so it's hard, because when you're talking about the inner patriarchy, people know that works.
Yeah,
they recognise that works, so they're like, oh, I'll hold on to that. I'll keep that if that's all right, because that works for me. But I know that it's not right, but it works for me. But it's not going to serve. So we really have to, be honest with ourselves. And if we are going to show up in any way, whether we share art, which is a lovelier way to do this work than call people out online, by the way. I just think...
Yeah,
imagine that.
It just creates something that you want to see. I mean, that's like, if I could say to anyone, it's like, you got a problem with my, elitist sweatpants that make me not spiritual. Make your own Marxist sweatpants. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, you were gonna look so good in those pink. We want to shoot. We actually want to shoot you, but I haven't. That's after reality riffing. I'm gonna slip you a roofie. Then we're gonna strip you down and put you in robotic disaster. People are gonna be like, it looks like Lisa's asleep in that photo shoot.
It's like one of them pictures.
Rich is going to be like, Rich is a nurse, and Rich is going to be like, I think you got roofied at Rama.
Clearly what
and
happens
the yogi
here.
tea.
Clearly what happens here. Yeah, what have I got in here?
Exactly.
But make your own art instead of calling people out. That's a great concept, isn't it? If you're going to get annoyed by something, if someone's doing something that's annoying you, you create the thing that
you think that you could do better or do differently.
Exactly.
I think if everybody did that, I mean, we would have a very creative society.
It'd be amazing.
It would be so amazing. And the wave of outrage, there's a way to use that energy in the right way, because there's nothing wrong with being outraged.
No, and I'm all about rage. Rage. I'm all about righteous rage. I'm all about letting anger move through our bodies and feeling it, as opposed to numbing that down, which, as women, we've been told to do.
Yeah.
But it feels like a broken record. But in that unfolding, we don't know what to do with that. This isn't, this is that second half of the cycle, that receiving cycle, the kind of, I call it bitchcraft, right? Like that area in which we don't know what to do with that anger that comes up because we've repressed it. Like that first half of the cycle, whether it's your menstrual cycle, whether it's the moon cycle, that's outward energy. That inward energy, which you experience in the second half of a menstrual cycle, the second half of a moon cycle, it's autumn and winter of a seasonal cycle. That's where we can receive, but we also, if we haven't expressed ourselves fully or truly, or we're kind of suppressing some of that, it's where it will show up. It's where it shows up in us. And it's like that, if we learned how to work with it and let it move through us and use it in a creative way, then it's potent. Then it's powerful. Then it's
so
power.
Powerful. It's the most primal power. It's
absolutely.
Alchemized.
Alchemized, beautiful.
What do you think? Do you want to give some just thoughts on winter solstice or summer solstice, depending on where you are in the world, and ritual around solstice?
Yeah, I love solstice. It's like a really powerful, in Kundalini, it's a super powerful time,
It's my
right?
winter solstice is my favorite.
Winter solstice. Rich and I, my husband, we got married on the winter solstice of the 21st of the 12th of the 12th.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we didn't mess around. Because if the world was going to end, we
might
figured
as well
we'd just
be
get it
in each other's arms.
Yeah, right?
You guys are romantic. So cute.
But yeah, we got married then, and it's always been a potent time for me as a magical kind of person who tunes into these this cyclic nature. But the summer is the heightened energy, and then the winter is like the darkest time, and it's like really honoring that, like really allowing yourself to come in. To not, and that's what it's so counterintuitive sometimes, is that like we're with family, we're with people.
It's holidays.
Yeah, it's holidays, and it's actually such a beautiful time if you can. And it's a great time to practice boundaries around that, to say, like, do you know what, this is lovely, I love you, not so much you, but like I'm going to be out of here, and I'm just going to be taking some time for me. And to really check in with like what that time of what the darkness means to you, because the summer is the height of the that's the full moon energy, that's that really big expansive energy, and then this winter solstice is a time to come in and really be with the darkness. It's death, it's full death, and we're scared of death, and we shouldn't be, because death always means a chance to be reborn. And
it's very relieving, death, I've heard.
Well, and that's why I love this cyclic work that I do.
You don't have to do anything anymore.
Imagine that.
So peaceful.
But I love the cyclic work for that reason, because, as a woman who bleeds, I get to experience a death every month. So when I bleed, that is a mini death, and then it's almost like an initiation into that space, and then get to be rebirth for the next month. We get the teachings of the last one, we move into that, and that's what happens at winter solstice. It's a mini death for all of us, is that we can die to what no longer serves, and then be reborn, ready for the light in bulk, when we're ready to call in all the new stuff, plant the new seeds.
And then the Australians just get to be really, really good looking.
And surf.
On summer solstice.
Surf and like move the hair.
Merry Christmas to you Southern Hemisphere people. Getting a tan. We see how it is.
I know, right? Barbecues on the beach. Any other stereotype we can think of for Australian people. No, and I know it. I feel like, because we talk about this so much in the kind of Northern Hemispheres, like, but, it's still happening. You get that at a different time of the year, right? So it's perfect. So it's but now and it's perfect in a way, because then it's the polar opposite. So you get to do hold the light while we get to die, and when we hold the light, you can die.
Well, I feel like when people really, Yogi Bhajan said this, but it is my true deep experience that these solstices, they give you, and the equinoxes, they give you a whole nother mastery of time.
Right.
And when you really go and you take the winter solstice energy, like into real, whatever, your version of that is, in meditation or in, in celebration, but you really, you take the solstice energy. I'm speaking specifically with the Northern Hemisphere in that winter space. I do feel like the holidays completely change, like the whole, what's important and why. And, my whole message to everyone is, you're an adult. You don't have to go to your family's house for Christmas.
Love it.
And nobody made that rule. You're fine. You're an adult. You get to do whatever you want. But so if that's the problem for you, or you get to make your own rituals, or you get to, it's such a great opportunity to, and I think more and more people are getting this, but sometimes I'm always surprised by people who are, very deeply spiritual people who still are kind of in the family constantly, that structure of like the solstice and Christmas or whatever kind of holiday kind of despair.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so good to claim these solstices, because they're not actually the Christmas. So like if you need to do Christmas with a family, do that on the 25th. But ultimately, is this, claim these sacred days. They're power days.
Yeah.
Like use them, work with them, and let them be your ritual of understanding the cycles, so that you stay in a place of power and like center in your body. Because when we do understand that, we really get to show up really differently in the world.
It really, I think it's, Yogi Bhajan said, if you do it, it literally changes your whole incarnation, which you're like, okay, whatever. But then you start to do it, and it gives you that kind of, so what other things about 2020 are you feeling in terms of any themes, cycles, messages, incantations?
Well, it's an easy one, but I think the 2020 vision is the key, in the fact that we're going to be able to, like, the mist is starting to clear, the fog that we've all kind of put up, that we've maybe kept up to a certain extent, because we don't want to see everything. It's like everything is just moving away, and you can either work with that, or it's the same with every kind of, when you have this knowledge, it's the same as everything. You can either work with it, or it can work completely against you. And so let it work with it. There's some, and Guru Jagat and her team will tell you all about there's some fiercely powerful astrology happening next year, right, as well. But that aside, I find the astrology, I found it really difficult this year in terms of when you give yourself to it completely. Like I've been like, oh, what's this happening? What's happening in this part of my chart? What's happening here? And then I've let that consume me. And it's definitely, it's been interesting to watch as somebody, my mum was what the gypsies call a sky reader. So she was always very, astrologically minded. And so I consider myself a fierce enthusiast. And like watching it unfold for me personally, I was like, oh no, this is a shit show. And then recognizing, and I really let myself go there with it. I was like, oh, that's how it's going to be. And so what I think is great about, all of our astrologer friends and people that share this, is recognizing what is happening, what is available to you within that cyclic information, within that astrological information, and then taking a breath, because that's what I didn't do, was take the breath and be like, right, okay, how am I going to do this? And that's what I think this 2020 vision is going to do, is like you can have the information, and then you're going to start trusting your own self. You're going to start trusting yourself into feeling into what that means for you, how that is for you.
What you want to do with that information.
Yeah, and what you're going to do with it, as opposed to looking to someone to tell me like, okay, so I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to do this thing. Okay, so it's more about, I'm not going to numb the experience anymore, because I can't, because I've seen too much now. And it'll be the same for the political leaders. It'll be the same for everything. Everything will start to shift, so we'll see everything. Doesn't mean it'll be like all light, like you were saying, all the bright light. It won't be like that. I mean, it might be, and that's cool, but then we'll see everything. And when we can see everything, we can make informed decisions. When we know what's really going on, we can make better decisions. Better choices for ourselves.
It's like Tig Num said to me, it's like the shimmer of the light off of a, unicorn's heart on.
Like a poet.
He was talking about me. He was like, "You're so beautiful. You're like the shimmer of light off a unicorn's heart on." I was like, "I'm sorry. What did you just say?"
He's like a beautiful poet.
He is hilarious. He is the most hilarious person I've ever met.
I'm glad you married him.
So it's not going to be. It's not. Yeah, exactly. Just that. That's when I said I did. Yeah. I'm like, no one said anything that sweet to me ever, baby. Well, okay. So one other kind of thing I wanted to ask you to give everyone is just how would you just practically inspire people to be more magic, feel more magic, be wisdom keepers of the magic world, more, invoke more magic in their lives. How you are such a mage, and just wanting your alchemy on that.
I think for me, recognizing, so how it's been for me, and that's the only advice I can ever give, is like what's moved through this one, is being present to your body. And I don't mean like being present, meditate a little bit, all of that. It's like be present to what's really going on in this one. Like feel it all, like all of it, and don't try and, because, we're so adept at running from it. We're so kind of conditioned to know how to escape, to stay present in this one, to be with this one, and to recognize the beauty that's there, to be able to look in the mirror and be like, yeah, she's cool. And like all of the parts, like how to be with all of the parts of who you are. I think that's been, these 18 months that have been in Glastonbury have been about kind of being with all of the parts. Like I reckon, when I was in Malta previously, saw all of the parts I didn't like. Like all of it was illuminated for me. Yeah, Malta's again another big PowerPoint.
Major.
No big deal. Like underground temples and goddesses and all sorts.
Lisa doesn't like to live in the suburbs, we'll say.
Got to keep it interesting, right?
Ley line central over here.
Right, but so doing that made me recognize all the parts, and then coming back and being with those parts, and like it's not a click your fingers process. No. And like that whole idea of being present isn't you just have to breathe a little bit or you have to do this. It's being with yourself when you're in the supermarket or when you're in meditation, but recognizing all the bits, and then recognizing there can also be love there. For those bits, all the parts, because unless we work towards, and I'm not saying we're going to get there, but like unless we work towards wholeness, they've worked really hard, the patriarchal structures, to kind of pull us apart, dismember us, and put all of our parts and hide them, put them in the dark, and then call them taboo. That it's now up to us to remember, which is like to put those parts back together, be with them, and to really start to love on them without being a self-love meme, obviously, because recognizing that it's way harder than just a meme, recognizing it's a daily show up. It's a daily self show up, and and being with it all, and not trying to change too much of it either. And change it if it does need changing, but recognizing that all of those things are okay. So a lot of recognition, a lot of remembering, putting back together. And then we can start to trust ourselves, start to see the things as they are, start to make good decisions, start to show up from a place of centered trust. And so it is.
So it is. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you for having me here.
As somebody put on social media, one of the Russians put on, we've taken Guru Jagat's phone. We're gonna feed her bread and potatoes. Say goodbye. That's how I feel about Lisa.
Will you feed me activated coffee from Air One?
we're feeding you buffalo cauliflower. we're buying you sneakers, and we have taken your UK SIM card out of your phone. You're ours.
I'll take it. Thank you.
So, okay. How do people buy this oracle card? Is there pre-order? How do people find you? Don't try to be sneaky and hide from us. What's the Patreon? How do we find you on Patreon?
So the Patreon is the She Power Collective. The website is thesassyshe.com. Sign up to the newsletter, which is Shemail, and you'll get
Shemail. You are so cute.
See what I did there, and you'll get discount on the cards. So the cards will be pre-ordered as of January. Yeah, January. The cards come out in February, and it's going to be really exciting. The book supposedly comes out in 2021, early part of 2021.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, because the cool kids are going to release a book then.
Maybe we can go on a book tour with each other.
Stop it.
Oh, come on.
I'm all about that. All about that.
That would be so cool.
I know.
Okay, well, now we
Planning.
yeah. So,
On it.
so me and Lisa and I, for who knows how this will take shape, but I think it will take shape in some way. We really want to create the Aquarian Age Publishing Company.
Yes.
So
Plant that
yeah, just putting it out there so it can
Yes.
vibrate into the world. So they've and then how do we find you on Instagram?
Because that's the only social media
I mean,
platform
or
that
anywhere else.
matters.
Well, Raw Goddess said, her Twitter, and I was like, do you tweet? I'm like,
Wow.
I'm so backward about the tweeting.
I know, me
So I
too.
need to get it together. But
I pick one. Gary
Yeah,
Vee
but I
says
just
pick
can't
every platform, put everything on it. I'm like, oh man, just the one.
Well, now it's TikTok. I mean, what's a girl to do? I mean, I'm too old for this shit. Okay.
40-year-old women sitting there going like, oh, one
so
bit
old.
of technology.
Yeah, what am I supposed to do with this?
Instagram is my place of choice online, and it's at Sassy Lisa Lister. Sassy
Lisa Lister. Okay. Well, we can't wait to keep up with all the amazing things you're doing, and we love you. And there's some amazing. Is your most recent workshop on Rama TV? People can still do it on Rama TV.
I think so. I
think so
know.
too.
Yeah.
There's some cool things that you can get more on Lisa on Rama TV, and then all of these other platforms. And bless you.
Love you.
Love you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You sweet one.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Reality Riffing. These are conversations that I think are important with people who are doing great things in the world about subject matters that need to be discussed. If you enjoyed the content, the conversation, please feel free to share with your people, share with your friends and family, rate the podcast below, and also subscribe.